In an episode that mixed diplomacy, tension, and direct confrontation, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky found himself at the center of a political storm during his visit to the White House this week. The meeting, which was supposed to be a celebration of continued U.S. support for Ukraine, quickly turned into a public clash between Zelensky and U.S. President Donald Trump, exposing deep fissures in the relationship between the two leaders. Zelensky's visit was primarily aimed at signing a bilateral agreement on rare earth minerals, a strategic resource that Trump seeks to access in exchange for continued military support for Ukraine. However, what began as a routine meeting quickly descended into an open confrontation, broadcast live on the White House cameras. Zelensky, known for his firm stance on Russian aggression, didn't hold back when he heard Trump and his deputy, JD Vance, express a worrying ambivalence towards Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Instead of following the traditional diplomatic manual of flattery and deference, Zelensky chose to respond directly, rejecting the revisionist narrative that minimizes Vladimir Putin's role as aggressor. The scene was a stark contrast to the audiences Trump had with other world leaders in the same week. French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, for example, sought to urge Trump to negotiate with Zelensky using flattery tactics. Macron reminded Trump of his visit to Notre Dame, while Starmer personally delivered a letter from King Charles. Zelensky, however, did not follow the same script. The argument in the Oval Office quickly escalated. Trump accused Zelensky of playing World War III and, in a moment of maximum tension, expelled the Ukrainian leader from the White House. In a later statement on social media, Trump wrote, "President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels that our involvement gives him a great advantage in the negotiations. I don't want an advantage, I want peace. He disrespected the United States of America in his beloved Oval Office. He can come back when he's ready for peace." Trump's reaction was unusual, especially from the leader of a democracy that the United States has supported with significant military aid. JD Vance, for his part, reinforced Trump's stance, arguing that the condemnation of Putin during the Biden administration only prolonged the war. "The path to peace and the path to prosperity is perhaps to engage in diplomacy," said Vance, defending Trump's apparent trust in Putin. Zelensky, however, did not back down. He recalled that Putin had already broken previous agreements, such as the 2019 agreement reached during the Trump administration. Although he didn't mention it directly, that agreement was signed at a time when Trump was facing his first impeachment, accused of withholding military aid to Ukraine and pressuring the country to investigate Joe Biden. The tension between the two leaders was palpable. Trump inflated the value of U.S. aid to Ukraine, claiming it was $350 billion, when in reality it was less than $200 billion. Zelensky interrupted Trump, accusing him of echoing Putin's argument that the war would have been over in 3 days without U.S. support. Trump's animosity towards Zelensky was clear, as was his affinity with Putin. "Putin went through a lot with me," Trump said, referring to the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. "He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia." Meanwhile, in Russia, officials celebrated the confrontation. Dmitry Medvedev, a senior official in Putin's government, posted on X, "The insolent pig finally received a proper beating in the Oval Office, and real Donald Trump is right. The Kiev regime is playing with World War III." Zelensky, for his part, tried to defuse the situation on social media, thanking the United States and Trump for their support. "Thank you, America. Thank you for your support. Thank you for this visit. Thank you at POTUS, Congress, and the American people. Ukraine needs a just and lasting peace, and we are working towards just that." However, the damage could be irreparable. Even supporters of Ukraine in the Republican Party, such as Senator Lindsey Graham, have questioned whether Zelensky can still be a reliable partner. "I don't know if we can do business with Zelensky again," Graham said, outside the White House. The episode made it clear that while Trump seeks rapprochement with Putin, Zelensky and Ukraine may be paying the price for increasingly fragile and unpredictable diplomacy. The confrontation between Zelensky and Trump not only exposed the tensions between the two leaders, but also raised questions about the future of American support for Ukraine. While Trump and Vance advocate a more conciliatory approach towards Russia, Zelensky insists that peace can only be achieved through a firm stance against Putin's aggression. Zelensky's visit to the White House, which was supposed to strengthen ties between the two countries, ended up turning into a public spectacle of disagreements. The exchange of accusations and Zelensky's expulsion from the Oval Office marked a rare moment when traditional diplomacy was replaced by direct, televised confrontation. While Trump and his allies continue to criticize Zelensky for his alleged ingratitude, the Ukrainian president maintains his posture of public gratitude, trying to preserve the American support that is crucial to his country's survival. However, the fissures created by this episode could have lasting consequences. Experts in international politics are already beginning to question whether the relationship between the United States and Ukraine can recover from this clash. Susan Glasser, a journalist and author of a book on the rise of Putin, summed up the situation bluntly. Donald Trump has changed sides in the war, and I think that's the context of the confrontation we've just seen. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, the population is watching the international headlines with concern, fearing that the vital support of their Western allies could be at risk. For Zelensky, the challenge now is to navigate an increasingly complex political landscape, where traditional diplomacy seems to be giving way to an unpredictable and volatile power game. What is clear is that the confrontation in the Oval Office was not just a disagreement between two leaders, but a reflection of the tectonic shifts in global politics, where long-standing alliances are tested and redefined amid a backdrop of war and uncertainty. The world is now watching closely to see how this story unfolds, and what the next chapter will be in the relationship between the US, Ukraine, and Russia.